morning, children. Good morning from schools. Good morning. Our guest is joining us. She's here with us, Vani ji. Good morning. Thank you for joining, children. More and more children are just joining us. Which schools are here right now? Can children tell me?
Hello, very good morning to you, Nidhi.
Hi, good to see you after such a long time. Yeah.
Long time, yes.
May I know which students are here? Children, can you tell me? There are lots of messages coming. You can send in the chat section, children. So schools, my dear friends, and all the lovely children today, we'd like to welcome all of you here to this absolutely amazing program. And schools is a tech startup which is recognized by the government of India, which helps schools for training institutes, trainers meet, verified, genuinely interested parents, and it helps parents to, kind of discover and search, explore multiple institutes, scheduling calls and appointments with the schools. It is actively encouraging learning and knowledge and development with the vision of our CEO, Srinivasji. Blogs, webinars, and many events. Many leaders from the education sector and other fields have participated in our webinars. We have, hockey captains, artists, Padma Shris, sports fraternity. We have events coming up with huge names, and they're delighted to, answer the questions of young, eager children. Our panelists also have a great opportunity to interact with all of you. And we are so grateful that so many of you join us every Sunday without fail to meet our guest speakers. Our guest speaker today is Vani Kaushal. Vani, can we have your camera on, please? Yeah.
Yes. Namaste.
So Vani is an international author, a journalist, a popular columnist. She took a plunge into the world of fiction writing after working as a business journalist for leading newspapers. The Times of India and the Financial Express, she explores other side of fame in her latest romantic thriller, Seconds Later. This novel that you can see the cover over there has been steadily climbing up the charts ever since its worldwide releases. With rave reviews in popular media, Vani has already been profiled by the international media houses like Transcontinental Times, apart from the Tribune, Sunday Guardian, Dainik Bhaskar, Indian Express, Yugmark, Doordarshan, of course. Vani and her new book were recently profiled by Cyrus Brocha on his popular show, Cyrus Says. So, to talk to all the children, there may be so many budding artists, writers. I'm sure we've called this creative writing. So what, according to you, if we begin with, is your definition of creative writing? आप कैसे परिभाषित करेंगी creative writing को? क्या होती है creative writing और कहाँ से शुरुआत होती है इसकी?
Nidhi, to start, I hope you can hear me properly.
Yes.
Okay, I want to first of all begin by thanking you and the entire team of schools for giving me this opportunity to interact with the budding talent of our country. And if I'm just here to help them, to give them a bit of tips. But honestly, I truly believe children know more than us. Today we don't have stupid children. I think everybody is super intelligent. If I have a problem with my mobile, I'm most likely to give it to a child to handle. So if I make a mistake, or if there is something that I say and you do not understand, because sometimes we speak as adults and we don't realize that a child may not understand it, kindly just interrupt me and let me know. So I would appreciate if you can make notes, because you may not remember the content of this conversation after an hour or 2 hours or something. But maybe there is something in it for you that you can really take home and make use of. So with that introduction, I thank you once again. Creative writing for me, in its very word, I think it contains the essence of something creative, something that comes out of your imagination. So if we have to put it in the simplest of words possible, I think there is technical writing, which is based on facts and your textbooks and all. That's very academic writing. You're not writing from your imagination. But the moment you start using your imagination and ideas and thoughts to express a story or an idea, I think that's when we start looking at the realm of creative writing. In its very simplest words, that's what it is.
Absolutely. And children do have these creative writing classes in class. It becomes really tedious for them when they're doing maths, SST, physics, everything, to suddenly start, imagining something in literature. So what do you advise? They read up a journal, or what is their train of thought supposed to be? Should they look at nature? What should they mull about?
I would say that, children have so many ideas. And why I say this is because when I was growing up, I would have questions about everything, like why this happens, why this is not the way things are. Like there was a point in time, I think I was a fourth grader, or maybe I was in the fifth grade, and I used to think that the whole world's population we can actually accommodate in my house. So the 7 billion people. So what I mean to say is that the imagination of children is so fertile. You can literally have them thinking about anything. And children, they have questions, but I think at the end of the day, it is upon the parents and the teachers to nurture that challenge, to nurture that talent, and to encourage them to express these ideas into words. So I would say that, don't be afraid. If you have an idea, try and put it down together, in the form of a short story, poetry, or whatever way suits you. I think most children just let it go, no, because they have so much of homework and academic pressure and textbooks. So generally they are not, but yeah, what you said is very right. Journaling is a good way to start. You just journal whatever happened during the day, and let your journal rest at a safe place where your parents are not allowed to see it, because children, they also feel very hesitant. You like somebody, you want to write about that person, and then you're like, oh, my parents are going to see it and beat the crap out of me. So I think the parents and the teachers both have this role to nurture this talent in children.
For our webinars, we normally have about 200 to 500. So, in a creative writing webinar, when the strength is less, I feel that it is only more important to stress on the need of creative writing in their daily experiences. Like you mentioned, journal just now. Can you give specific examples? And I'd like to open this to the children who are watching for examples before we take on the other questions with you. Um, for instance, they go to a kirana shop with their parents. They pick up something from there, and they can probably write about the person. He might help them becoming a protagonist in their novel, becoming anything. There are so many instances that you see uh, children have been, imprinted in their minds of the past events. But because of this absolute wild race that we have of becoming something, of doing something, whether it's, that same thing is nurtured in a child, engineer, doctor, MBA, something like that. So the child is actually not able to focus on his or her creative faculties. So how should we, give examples to them? And let's open this conversation to our little bright minds here and ask them if, they'd like to say something. Please raise your hand. We'll give you a chance to ask for examples from one of the best authors in India. Yes.
That's a wonderful question, Nidhi, because I think a visit to a grocery store can really, it could be, created into such an exciting experience. And I think when you come to writing it down, the moment you step out of the house, the people you meet, how they are dressed, and then telling it in the way of a story. You visit the shop and you have the shopkeeper who has three people working around him, how he's treating them, and then the whole process of him taking out the stuff, whatever you're looking for, and then you're paying for it. I think even the simplest of events in our lives can be converted into such beautiful stories. And I think there is I think children have so much potential to do that, because everything is new for them. Like when it's like everything is a new experience for them. For instance, traveling in a train is something that we can think about, or their first movie in a movie theater. So these are little things which might be like commonplace for us, but not for children. And secondly, you are right, because parents, they are so focused, and I don't know how many. I think 35 people are watching us today, and I'm sure many more would watch us in the future time. But I think the interest in
Oh, I can see 36. I can see 36. Some more are waiting there to be joining. Yeah.
yes, but more, I think that's mostly because you're right, because most parents, they stress upon this need to be an engineer or a doctor. So I'm 100% sure that if somebody, a child, one among these children, if they were to say to their parents that we want to be a writer, the first thing that the parents would say is, have a backup career. Be an engineer or a doctor first, and then you can do whatever you want. So I know how much pressure these children have these days. And so writing or reading also takes a backseat. But I would say just writing little snippets of your life could be very exciting. I think blogging could be very exciting. And a lot of
Absolutely. What is the difference now? But what is blogging for the benefit of some children, and what is vlogging? We hear of all this happening. Can you please explain the difference to all of us?
Well, a blog would be the easiest thing to do. A blog could be about anything that interests you, and while a journal is something that's physical, or this is my understanding of it, while a journal is like a diary writing, what we have known for centuries now, we have people writing
So,
diaries.
so 1 second, diary writing comes in all their papers, ever since class 6, I think they have a diary entry. If I'm not wrong, all children will validate this. They have a diary entry question. I checked this out in all English papers where they have to mention, dear diary, I did this. So that's a lovely way that has been incorporated by, grammar and by all schools across India. It is in the CBSE syllabi. So they have something called a diary entry. How could they perhaps polish this? And what is vlog and what is a blog?
Blog would be, I would say, it is online. You could actually, because of Corona, so many more children were, working online. They were spending so much time on screen. So you can actually create a blog. There are many blogging platforms that are there, and you can write tiny blogs and share it with your friends or family members, depending on your comfort level. I think most children are hesitant to share their ideas with others because there is this, oh my God, people will make fun of me. So there are many things that they think about. But while a vlog is like a video vlog, sort of anything that you feel comfortable about, or you're thinking about, and you have platforms like YouTube where you can upload it and reach out to many more people via those. So I know of children who have made unboxing videos, and I'm sure, I think everybody is aware of those. All they do is they get something new, a dress or chocolate or whatever, and they unbox it on camera, make a 2-minute video out of it, and they just upload it. I think it's not the other activity per se that matters, but the thing that you are able to do it, and be in front of the audience, present yourself. I think that dissolves away a lot of that hesitation that kids or even adults might have. So, and as far as your next question is concerned about polishing their journal writing or their diary writing skills, I think you have to just promise yourself, everybody here, just promise yourself that when you write that diary, number one, tell your parents to not read it, of course, because otherwise you will not be able to be as honest to it as you can. Secondly, be honest and write, make a commitment to do it daily. Like, okay, even if it is a paragraph, I'll write something daily. Any song that you heard, anything that your friends said, why they said it, what's your interpretation of it? And imagine reading these diaries after 12 years. And then imagine, oh my God, this is what I used to think like 12 years ago. It could be so
It's so
exciting.
beautiful. A lot of children are asking about your works, but before we go there, there are a few hands going up. Let me ask them what they're wanting to learn from you, and then we'll show your videos, and then we'll come to your works. Yes, we can have Mohit Kumar, Muhammad Umar, and Anshi. Muhammad Umar, yes, please ask your question.
Yes,
Omar?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Mohammed Umar. Ma'am,
From which school?
ma'am, from Ingraham Institute.
Great, great.
Ma'am, actually, I wanted to ask, as you have explained a lot of things, what is creative writing, and mentioned about it, that the features that you have to feel about it, and then not have to be like come in others behavior. And actually, I wanted to ask something. Before 2 days, my sister was like saying that you must have to be, actually in my home everybody used to be an engineer, so everybody says you have to be also an engineer, but my in my opinion I have to be an actor or something like that, but they focuses on me to be an engineer.
So this is the problem everywhere, not with you, it's with every child.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you tell something related to this that I can tell to them?
So sweet.
Nidhi, this is just such a difficult question because, yes, I agree, parents are not very open to accepting the idea that their child wants to not be in that rat race of becoming an engineer or a doctor and wants to step out uh, of that and do something which is in the creative space. Okay, so this is a very tough question. What should you tell your parents? Because the parents are going to come after me. What did you tell our
No. I'll give you a hint. Umar,
Okay.
what you should do is what ma'am explained. You said you want to be an actor, right? If I got that correct. So what you should do is go out and make vlogs about yourself, about your daily activities, whether it's unboxing a chocolate, whether it is, speaking in somebody's voice, whether it's mimicking someone, whether it is, any movie that you like, you could perhaps share a review, open your own channel and see how that works. That will give you some kind of popularity because you'll have to test the waters, is what I feel.
Okay, ma'am.
I think that's an excellent idea, Nidhi, because just thinking about it will not really help.
Sorry.
I think you need to just go out there, participate at all sorts of platforms, and get the whatever skill set, whatever skill set is available to you right now. Just keep training yourself, keep upgrading your skills, and I think just keep putting your work out there via YouTube or via Facebook or Instagram, and see
Also one more suggestion is we have excellent people coming in schools. Please attend every Sunday. We have Deepa Kiran coming up next. We have Gauri Bakshiji. They take very good theater classes. I think Vani, it will be a good thing if he enrolls himself in a theater school to pursue his dream, because that is where his career can blossom. Because after all, you need guidance if you want to, pursue your dream. You cannot just become an artist or an actor overnight. You need hard work. Everything is about hard work, children. Yes, Anshi, can we have your question, please? You're raising your hand.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I am from Ingram Institute English School.
Right.
Ma'am, what are the tips of writing, creative writing?
So ma'am just shared them earlier that you should write a journal every day. I'll ask her to repeat it. Vani, if you could please.
Yes. So some of the tips that I can give you are: number one, do not be scared to write about anything that comes to your mind. Be open, be honest. Secondly, and this is a tip that I'll give you, read a lot. Read whatever interests you, not just academic writing, your books and all, not that, but try reading a book a week. I think that's more than enough. Just a book a week, and pick up something that interests you, so that you will have an idea as to how other people write, and it will help you to benchmark your own writing abilities. Okay. Thirdly, do not be afraid to show your work to others and take their feedback on whatever you have. I think a couple of other tips would be that if you have ideas, like if you have a very, very, fertile imagination, you can actually think up uh, people, characters, plot settings, and all. Just try writing very short stories, not anything very long. The way you write essays, probably my train journey, or an accident I witnessed, or a person I met who was very nice. Just try writing about those characters, those situations, events in as much detail as possible. And I think slowly, slowly you will find that it will work to your benefit, and it would improve your creative writing skills.
Absolutely. And before we tell them about Seconds Later, your new novel, which is inspiring millions, let's have a clipping of that. Yeah. I love the watch. I love the title. What is Seconds Later? What is it?
Seconds Later is, if you have to, if I have to talk about it, it is a crime drama. It's crime fiction slash romance. So we remember we had a student just now who was saying he wants to be an actor. I think everybody wants to be famous at that age, and it is the story of a young girl. She's all of 19. All she wants to be is famous. What she doesn't know is that there is a price to fame, that fame doesn't come easy, and you have to go through a lot of struggle, and then there's a lot of stress involved with that. So Seconds Later is a romance story and a crime drama as well. It is when a young celebrity, a young TV celebrity, she's being stalked by her fans, and then what happens, how she deals with it. So this is what the story is all about, and it is for youngsters. It is sort of in
For
the young.
millennials.
Yes, it is for millennials. Yes.
And it's available. It's been published by which house, which publishing
It's
house?
published by Vishwakarma Publications. They are the organizers of the Pune International Literature Festival, and it's been doing very well. It's got amazing reviews, and I recently signed a deal for book to screen adaptation deal, but it's like with a company which is called Story Inc. And they basically represent novels for book to screen adaptation. So hopefully, I hope to see an adaptation of this novel one day.
On Netflix or anywhere else.
On
Absolutely.
Netflix or some OTT platform, yes.
Yes. But what inspired you to write Seconds Later? How did you come across this title? Why? I mean, what is the story behind Seconds Later?
Seconds later, I wrote it out of my own experiences. So what happened was, when my first book came out, I wasn't. I was trying to reach out
You've
to.
written 4 books, right?
I've
For
written.
the benefit of
This
the
is my
students.
third one.
All right, 3
This is
books, right?
the third one. When my first book came out, and I think that was the time when we first met. So after that book came out, I tried to reach out to my readers and followers and everything. But what I didn't realize was that fame is a two-edged sword. So I started getting, very uh, stupid requests on I can't say everything, so I have to be careful. I started getting marriage proposals on Instagram and Facebook, and people, they just unnecessarily got after me on certain occasions. And then I realized that it wasn't so easy to handle fame. So this book came out of my own experiences, because I realized that celebrities are more vulnerable than common people. And
Absolutely. They target you in public places. Absolutely.
in public places where you can't even do anything, and as a human being, you do make mistakes. So what happened for me was that I used to feel very scared of all these experiences I was having. And then there was one particular day where I just leaned into all these fears. I was like, okay, you know what? There is nothing worse that can happen. Let me lean into this fear, whatever it is, and let me feel it completely. That those butterflies in the stomach, and that vacuum and that pit, that you feel like. So once I leaned into them, then this story came to me just flowing as it is, that there's a young girl. All she's ever wanted is to be famous. And she's a TV celebrity, very famous. And what happens to her when her fans start chasing her? They are bothering her at all times of the day. And she has a love interest, and that love interest cannot do anything to protect her. And then what happens eventually, whether she will still remain in the chosen field or not. So this is what the story is about. And seconds later is, well, it'll open the suspense, but the book opens with a murder scene where it's like, she's lying in a pool of blood next to her killer, and she has only a couple of seconds to go back in her memory and just remember, who is this guy who's just stabbed me, and why has he done that? So just a few seconds before she's taking her last breath. So that's why the novel title.
How wonderful. I'll ask the tech team to play another video for our little bright children today.
Vani, Vani. People are going online and buying it right now. Yeah.
I'm glad that is happening, because that's the ultimate thing that any writer wishes for.
Yes, the ultimate compliment, I always believe, just with comedians and all that, is do people laugh? Then you're a comedian. You can't talk about how good the comedy was. That's a waste of everybody's time, honestly. It very often isn't in any case. But they laugh, you're successful. The book, if you read it, and I read it in 2 hours. You can't do that normally. A lot of books are difficult for us to read these days. It's very racy, it's very fast. And I'm not saying because of the sex scenes, but things happen non-stop.
Right?
It's very fast-paced. It's very fast paced. There's no hold up. It's an easy read, quick and fast for me. It's not like, oh God, what's coming now? There's no hold up. Things happen all the time, and you keep cross cutting between the characters, which is very interesting because it's almost like a fresh movie now or fresh book coming in, because now I'm getting his perspective. The whole thing has changed.
Wonderful. I was just thinking we could play my clipping also, but I've not shared it with the tech team of your first book. And I understand that your first book is now being republished. So we'll wait to call you on schools a second time before we can play that clip with me and you on DD. Yeah.
Yes, I know that is one of my most beautiful memories.
No, but just tell me about that book and why you wrote it. Tell them that it is being republished and why and all.
So Nidhi, how that goes back. So let me go back a bit and tell everybody about my journey. I did not. So this is for the. I think there was a child who was asking how to explain his parents he wants to be a writer. Well, I could not do it for the longest time. I basically have a background in economics, and there was alongside that I also did a course in mass communication, and I became a big business journalist. I started working for the Times of India, and then subsequently I went on to work for the Financial Express. So after doing that for a couple of years, I thought, maybe I was stagnating, and I went to London to pursue an MBA degree. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'll find myself a comfy job, and then on the side, I'll write a novel. And what happened was that was in year 2008, and global recession struck, and the economies were going down. That event sort of prompted me to write my first novel, and it was called The Recession Groom. It was a typical wedding novel, about a guy who's hot on the wedding market, and then what happens when he's not so hot. And from there on, the novel did very well. I think that's around the time we met on Doordarshan stage. And after that, I kept promoting the book, and fair enough, it went on for a while. And then there was an American Armenian artist who approached me on Twitter, and she hadn't heard about my book, and she asked me if I could write a book about her paintings, and she was in the United States. So I said yes. I mean, I have been a painter myself. I do a bit of painting as well, dabble with that. So I said yes. And that book was called Flowers Forever. That came out in 2019. It was published and it was marketed in the United States. And the idea for Seconds Later came to me when I was working on that book, and I started writing it almost immediately. So that sort of, Seconds Later was a couple of years into writing. I think I took about 3-4 years to write the book, and then released it in 2021, last year. And I have been promoting it ever since. And it's been such a wonderful experience, because you can't imagine the response that I have got for the book. Like, people have felt so invested in the characters. They are like, why did you do this to this particular character? And so that sort of tells you as a writer that, wow, you were able to create relatable characters.
Absolutely. But where would you say you'd like to start for a book? Ideation is one, writing is one, rewriting is one, edits is one, time taken at each step, submissions, book marketing. We'll come to book marketing later because that's the most difficult for a budding author. But what about the writing, rewriting, and edits? Because there would be a few writers, couple of writers in our conference today, in our webinar today, and they would be hearing you. What are the tips for ideation, for processing, and how do you edit? Do you edit at the end of every chapter? Do you do chapter wise, or do you edit after every paragraph and see how many mistakes you've made?
I think everybody, okay, so I'll start with the first thing, that is the process of ideation. And I think this is very interesting because you can actually write about anything. People have written stories about, novels actually, about their dogs, about their families, about house help. You can practically write about anything that you feel very strongly about.
Absolutely. House help is a very good start point. Everybody has house help and they're all queer as they come, but they're very devoted. But they have stories, sometimes stories of real struggle, which if you can just talk to her, it might, make it very nice and easy for you to share. There is a hand going up. Anshi, you want to say something? Yeah. House help is something which you can all portray as characters.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please
Uh,
ask.
Ma'am, my another question is, ma'am, what would I do if my if my daily paragraph is wrong, ma'am? How will understand to do it correctly?
Sorry, please repeat. Not understood.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, if my daily writing paragraph is wrong, ma'am, what would I do?
All right.
Yeah, I
So
can,
sweet.
I can, I
How do
can.
you know it's wrong, by the way? How do you know it's wrong? You can share it
Ma'am,
here if you have it.
yes, ma'am.
How do you
Ma'am,
know it's wrong?
Ma'am, if my parents tell that is, ma'am, my paragraph is wrong, you have to do again and again. And ma'am, again it is wrong, ma'am, what would I do?
Okay, I got the question. Oh, this is such a beautiful question. Thank you so much, Anshi. I understand. So you are saying that if you've written something and you've written it from your heart and it's not come out the way you would like to, and your parents say, no, 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 this doesn't work, change it and write something else.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is also a part of the process, my dear, because writing is one thing. It takes very little time to get it all out of your system. Basically, just put it down to the paper. But when you start rewriting, I think it is so difficult because you have to, and even as writers, trust me, I rewrite, I write and then I revise and rewrite. And writing is, if writing takes me like maybe a month to write something, then it takes me uh, 10 times that amount of time to rewrite and revise until it is perfect. So don't worry if your parents tell you to revise anything, because that's a part of the process. The more you revise and rewrite, I think the more you learn about that character, about that setting, about whatever it is that you're trying to write about.
No, but
So
another tip, Vani, is something that I learned at school is there are a lot of sample reading comprehension passages and creative writing passages available on Google. So in your spare time, you should see that. That will tell you the structure of the passage. That in point 1, you have the general introduction. In the middle, you have a body. And in the end, you have a conclusion, beta. So all these 3 points put together make a good passage. First, you go through many passages and then you see which one interests you and pick that out and write that. So that your structure is this. You cannot go say, if if you begin with something right from the top and then conclude it and then come to the middle part. Please explain this in more detail, Vani.
yes, I think that is one of the main things about creative writing, that you have a head, you have a body, and you have feet. And mostly what happens is children, because they are not trained that way, so everything is just jumbled up, and you don't have a head or a tail of anything. So that's what creative writing is all about. You start maybe a good. I'll give you some tips when you are starting something. Maybe start with an incident, this is something that happened, and then explain whatever you were trying to say, and then end it. Maybe you can loop it back to what you started with, that this is how I came to know whatever. But there has to be an ending, and writing an ending is the most difficult task. So I think most children, they don't like.
Can you give us an example? Supposing I throw a question at you, Vani, or at the children. Can you all come up with something? It was a stormy night. Dash, 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 dash.
Maybe one of the children can answer it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Exercise
I'd
from
love one of the children to answer this. Or it was a bright, sunny day. Anything. Just take it forward.
Do we
Any
have
child?
who would like to take that?
How would you take that up? There were butterflies all around. The sky was clear. It was an amazing morning, and I picked up my red bicycle and I took off. It can be anything, It has to engage with the person who's reading it. It cannot just be, good morning, I have got up, it's time to go to school, I'm packing my bag and going. So that is not a read. You have the first line should be really like hers a seconds later. The title itself and a clock nearby makes you think that what happened seconds later. It's something like that. So it has to be engaging. It has to pull the reader, whether it is your teacher who's going to mark you for that, or whether it is your book idea, whether it's your paragraph idea which is going in for a competition, or even for a debate. Yes, I can see a hand up. Please, Rutha, please say.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, yes, again, Mohammed Uma. Ma'am, actually, I have wrote a ma'am, I have wrote a poem for a magazine for school. Ma'am, I don't know if it was get selected or not, ma'am. I just wanted to ask, can I share with you?
Absolutely, you can. Please go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, let me read it, actually.
Okay.
Ma'am, just once. Ma'am, it's on parakeets. Ma'am, budgies.
It's
Ma'am,
on?
did you know? Ma'am, budgies. Ma'am, parakeets. Ma'am, they are type of parakeets.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Little Bobby Budgie, he went in a rage, fed up of being trapped, locked up in the cage. He opened up the door. A clever chap was he, pushed it with his beak. Now, Budgie, he was free. headed for the window that was open wide, flew in it to the sky, to the world outside.
Very good. Very good.
It's beautiful.
It flew away ultimately. There is another question somebody is asking.
Ma'am, it's not a question.
Yeah.
I would like to continue the topic which you gave, ma'am, actually. One bright sunny morning, I went to pick up the flowers. When I went to my bicycle, I got picked up in a van and just I wish I was unconscious.
This is a crime thriller, huh? Picked up by a van.
Yes, ma'am.
They're being inspired by you, Vani.
I think so. This is so beautiful. That is what I was talking about.
And he was unconscious also. So somebody must have
Yes.
banged him on the head or something. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I wrote another story actually in my exam paper.
Yes.
The Diary of a Savage Kid, but it's not good. It's not that good.
No, please share it. Why
Yes,
do you say
ma'am.
it's not good? It may be good.
Let me get the papers 1 second, ma'am.
Meanwhile, Vani, if you can tell us how difficult it is for a, budding writer to go to a publisher, you fail rejections many times. And what should you do when you face these rejections? All good authors have faced it, whether it's Amish Tripathi or Ashwin Sanghi, they've all told me in their various interviews that they faced thousands of rejections before finally one book going out. And now Amish Tripathi is Amish,
Yes, absolutely. I think whatever you do, rejections are always going to be there because some people will be able to connect with your work and others will not be able to connect with your work. That is number one. Number second is that it should not stop you, but maybe, that could be an opportunity for you to look at your work again and see if you can make improvements to it. So I'll give you an example from seconds later. When I finished the novel the first time around, I sent it out to all the publishers, anybody you can think of, and they all rejected it. And then what I did was, after getting some feedback from friends and family members, I started reworking on it and added 2 or 3 more characters to the novel. And that sort of enhanced the flavor so much. So today, when I look back, I think I took my rejections in a very positive way. So I would say that, a typical journey would involve rejections, obstacles of some sort, but don't stop just because people don't like you or like your work. Just keep going despite that. Everybody has had to face rejections. And as to your second question about approaching a publisher, well, when you have written out a piece, like let us say you have a collection of short stories that you want to see published, and let's say you have about 10 or 12 short stories, then you create a package out of it. Like you have your sample chapter ready, have a cover letter ready which introduces you, which introduces your work, and yeah, there are 2 ways to go about it. Either you can go through a literary agency, which basically represents your work, sends it out to the publisher. So I work with a literary agency called the Book Bakers, and it's headed by Suhail Mahmood. The second way could be you could go directly to a publisher, apply to them via their platform, and wait for a response from them. So it's like you have a lot of publishers. So depending on the kind of work that you're doing, you will have to apply to the appropriate publisher.
Absolutely. But, it's not easy making money as a writer. So that comes in as a last resort. So maybe you need a backup in place. What are your thoughts?
I think everybody has a different situation. If you are the breadwinner of the family, then of course you need to have a backup option, simply because the whole publishing process is very lengthy. It might, you from the moment you start writing a novel to the time it gets published to the time you see any money coming in, I think there is a time lapse. And if you do not have a backup option, I think you might face some difficulty. But then, I mean, we are looking at students, we are talking to students. I don't think they are the breadwinners right now. So we can, of course, take these things in their stride and see, how it works out for them. But yes, I think just focusing on honing your skills and your talents, I think that should come as the primary motive, and making money out of this should be secondary, because otherwise you will get distracted. So let us say you want to be a cricketer. Thinking about it, that I want to make 9 crores per year like Virat Kohli makes, I think that will sort of distract you. I think the first thing would be to just be the best at the game that you could be, and just
No,
see
but
how
then there is a problem here. Why I said backup is most parents would like their child to, be financially independent, if nothing else. So that financial security does not come immediately in any profession. So it is the same with being a writer.
Yes.
So you need to think about all these things. If you think success comes overnight, you are wrong. It doesn't come overnight to anybody. All successful people have gone through a series of struggles to reach that. So you should be
maybe
prepared.
you being
And
in
without taking a risk, children, you get nowhere.
yes,
You
and I
have
think
to understand that you have to take the right decision. You have to take risks in life, or you know, um, if you want to be a somebody. I'm sure all of you want to. Yes, do
think
we have that creative writing now? Is he here?
Ma'am, actually lost these papers, but I have a question.
All right, please go ahead.
Ma'am, how is the title interconnected with the story in the seconds later?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
How is the title interconnected with the story?
Oh, that is an interesting question, Vani.
that's a very interesting question. Thank you so much for asking that. Well, seconds later, like I said, this young girl, she is very famous, and she calls a guest to her show, and she has stabbed him, and she's on the verge of, like, taking her last breath, and a couple of seconds, probably a couple of seconds away from death, and she doesn't even know why this chap killed her, what was her fault, and where did he come from, who is he. So this is all, about fame and all, and why it is called seconds later is because, she has just a couple of seconds to figure out what's gone on, what's happened, and why things have happened like this with her. So that's how it ties into the whole story of the novel.
Yes,
Any
thank
other
you, ma'am.
question? Yes. Any other question?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Ma'am, which thing you do to become an author?
Say that again, beta.
Ma'am, which thing you do to become
What do you do to become an author is her question.
You just write. Today, anybody, a lawyer, engineer, whether you are a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor, or you could be in any profession, you could still be writing books, and you could be a writer. So yes, there are two ways to look at it. You can have a professional qualification in creative writing, so that they train you with all the skills and all, and you will know exactly what to do and how to do it. Or the second way out is just write, and as long as you're writing, you are a writer. The only thing is,
Absolutely.
the only thing is that when you write novels, you have to have a solid enough idea that you can write about 60 to 70,000 words because it's about 200 to 250 pages. So you can actually have that whole idea panning across 200 pages. When you're writing a short story and you have a collection of short stories, I think about 2,000 to 2,500 words on one idea would be just enough. But having a collection would give you something like maybe 15 or 20,000 words, and you can get a book published. So it depends on what way you write and what you write, but anybody can be a writer.
And what is the difference, my last question, between a biography and an autobiography?
Biography would be like me writing about you. Autobiography would be you writing about yourself.
So now on that note, children, we'd like to thank our esteemed guest today, Vani. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. More power to you, more success to you. As far as seconds later let it happen on a larger scale and let it be adapted as a film. We'll be so happy if that happens. So on behalf of the CEO of schools, Srinivas ji, and the entire team of schools, I thank you all for joining us.
Ma'am, one more thing.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, ma'am, Vani ma'am said that you have to write the stories, that you have to first plan in your head, then you have to write. If you are writing a novel, you must have to bring thousands of ideas in your brain. And ma'am, what about if you write little that I have written and spoken?
Oh,
Spoken
beta, that
to them.
little should be connected, na? You write one little thing today and you write another thing about another thing today. How do you connect the thing? That is your question.
Novel, everything should be interconnected with each.
Everything, like if you begin a story and you write about it little today, little tomorrow, little 5 days later also, it's okay. But it should be connected. You should
No, ma'am.
think.
Ma'am, actually don't want to ask that. Sorry, ma'am. I'm actually asking how can, ma'am, it is possible to write a very short type of poem?
So poem should have a rhyme set.
Yes.
Yes, Vani? Can I
Yes.
answer this question instead of you?
Please.
So poetry comes from the heart. I write a lot of poetry. So poetry should have a rhyme scheme with it. That means sometimes you can have the first line rhyming with the third line, the second line with the fourth line. It's called, systematic rhyming in poetic language. It is either A, C, or B, D, something like that. And of course, it can be about anything,
Okay, ma'am.
But you have to have a thought before you write a poem, right? Right, Vani? You have to have a thought
Yes.
before you write a book.
Yes.
You have to think about the whole thing in your mind. There's so many genres. It could be crime, it could be nature, it could be a holiday, it could be adventure sports, it could be anything. You have to first perpetuate the idea. It could be even cricket or sports, like Vaniji mentioned. But you have to ideate about it. You have to think about it, and then don't go, hopscotching from one idea to another one. Then it will become a khichdi. Then you'll have nothing there. So it should be very interconnected. Every idea, take up one topic and then follow that, and then work on that day after day. As you mentioned, how many words did you say, Vani?
For a novel, it's about 60,000 words.
60,000 words. You cannot skip it. You cannot go and jump to another book. Like I'm sure a lot of these kind of things cross your mind, Vani, when you write a book. Today you're writing about something and then you feel, okay, that's another idea. But you can't change it midway, is his question.
I keep writing my ideas, but whatever I'm working on at the moment, it has to be so compelling that I'm able to write it. There has to be enough material for me to be able to write it across 250 pages. Otherwise, how will I work? It's impossible to write 60,000 or 70,000 words if I'm not committed to that idea.
Absolutely. Now, children, I'd like to thank you once again on behalf of Team Schools and our CEO, Srinivas ji, for joining us for this extremely interesting conversation today.